After 4 years of marriage, I found out my wife was cheating and quietly left. A year later, she tracked me down begging for a second chance. This is my story of betrayal, heartbreak, and finding strength to move on. My name's Mark, I'm 37 years old, quiet, steady, a guy who never wanted much drama, married to Lisa, 35, who once was kind, funny, patient, and fiercely loyal. For years together felt like forever back then. We shared dreams, plans, and a life I thought was rock solid until things started slipping away in the most subtle ways, late work nights that turned into early mornings, texts that she hid when I came close, and a distance between us that grew like a slow crack in glass. At first I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. I kept telling myself Lisa was just stressed or tired, but the signs kept piling up like a bad dream I couldn't wake from. I remember that night like it was yesterday, finding her bra in the backseat of her car when she said she was working late alone. It felt like someone punched me in the gut, but I stayed quiet, hoping it was a mistake or something I was misreading. Then came the night she left a bar with that guy from work. His name was Jason, tall, easy smile, and I saw them laughing as they walked out together. Lisa's face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. It cut me deep, the kind of pain that's silent and sharp. I kept watching, heart heavy. When I later found out she checked into a hotel with him, the proof was there, staring me in the face like a cruel joke, and I didn't say a word to her. I didn't want the fight, the shame, or the tears, so I packed what I could without raising suspicion, moving my stuff little by little into a trailer on a ranch my new friend Ray owned, a rugged man with a quiet kindness who didn't ask questions. I left her a note on the kitchen table, short and to the point, saying I was sorry, that I needed space to figure things out, and I left my wedding ring next to it, not as a farewell to love, but as a symbol that the chapter was over for me. After that, Lisa called me nonstop. Hours of missed calls that I refused to answer, messages that swung from desperate apologies to angry accusations like I was the one who betrayed her, but I stayed silent, because sometimes silence is the loudest way to say you're done. Months rolled by, and finally she came clean, admitted the affair was real, blamed it on stress and loneliness. She said she never meant to hurt me, asked for forgiveness, begged for another chance, but my heart had already closed the door. I chose my peace over the pain of pretending. My new life was just beginning in the mountains, away from the chaos of lies and broken promises. But the story didn't end there. A year later, out of the blue, Lisa found me, standing in that small town where I'd built a quiet existence. She showed up with tears, regret dripping from every word, saying she loved me, wanting to start fresh, even suggesting we move somewhere new together. But I stayed firm, told her I was done with what we had, that I was finally free. She left after I made it clear I wasn't going back, and that was the final goodbye I needed. Now I wake up to the sound of birds instead of arguments, I breathe mountain air instead of tension, and I'm learning who I am without her shadow looming over me. This is my story of betrayal, quiet escape, and the hard but beautiful journey to find myself again. After I left, the silence was overwhelming at first. No calls, no texts, just the quiet that felt strange after years of constant noise from Lisa and our life together. I spent days on the ranch, watching the wind move the tall grass, listening to Ray's old dogs barking somewhere in the distance. It was peaceful but lonely, the kind of loneliness that gnaws at you at night when memories rush in like a flood. I kept thinking about the moments I missed, the small smiles that had faded, the way she used to laugh at my dumb jokes. It was hard to accept that those moments were just memories now, not a future. And even though I wanted to hate her for what she'd done, a part of me still missed her. Maybe because I was a fool who believed in forever, or maybe because love is complicated and messy. I spent a lot of time by the fire pit Ray built, staring into the flames, trying to burn away the hurt but realizing it only left ashes of what once was. My phone would light up sometimes with her name, Lisa, but I refused to answer. The temptation was there, but I reminded myself that some bridges aren't meant to be crossed again. She sent messages full of regret, promises to change, offers to meet and talk, but I stayed silent, choosing to rebuild my life on my own terms. The ranch became my refuge, where the mountains stood tall and indifferent to my pain, where the air was cleaner, and the nights were filled with stars instead of lies. Ray didn't push me to talk, just gave me space. And sometimes cooked dinner over the fire, telling me stories about his own past mistakes, his own lost loves, which somehow made my own wounds feel less heavy. I started waking up earlier, going for long hikes alone, feeling my body and mind slowly heal. I wrote little notes to myself about who I wanted to be, what I wanted to leave behind, and what kind of future I was ready to fight for. But even with all that growth, I couldn't fully let go of the pain Lisa left behind. It lingered like a Shadow on sunny days, a whisper in the wind, a weight I had to carry to learn how to stand on my own, and then came the call I never expected, Lisa's voice on the phone after months of silence, shaky, filled with emotion, admitting she was wrong, confessing that the affair was a mistake fueled by stress and loneliness she didn't know how to handle, asking me to meet, to talk, to maybe try again. I listened, felt the old feelings stir. But I stayed strong, told her I needed more time, more space, more healing, and that trust isn't something you fix overnight, she begged, pleaded even, but I stayed quiet on the phone after that, knowing I had to protect myself from falling back into the same hole. The days after her call were filled with mixed emotions. Part of me still loved her, part of me was angry, but the biggest part was determined to live for me, not for the ghost of what we used to be. As the seasons changed, I kept growing, kept pushing forward, learning how to be happy alone. Until one day, out of nowhere, Lisa showed up at the local cafe where I worked part-time, eyes red, voice trembling, telling me she was sorry, that she wanted to start fresh, that she was willing to do anything to make it right. But I knew deep down, some things once broken can't be repaired the same way. I told her gently but firmly that I was moving on, that I needed to find peace away from the past, and that sometimes loving yourself means walking away from the ones you once loved. She nodded, tears falling, understood, and left, and with that, I finally felt a freedom I hadn't known before, the freedom to choose myself again. Even though I told Lisa I was moving on, the ache in my chest didn't just vanish overnight. Some nights I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling in that small rented cabin Ray helped me find, thinking about all the years we'd shared and wondering how something that once felt so right could turn into such a mess. It's funny how betrayal doesn't just break trust, it breaks the rhythm of your life, makes you question everything you thought you knew about love, about yourself. For a while, I blamed her entirely, but later I realized the blame was a tangled mess that involved us both. Maybe I wasn't as attentive as I thought, maybe I missed signs because I didn't want to see them, but none of that took away the sting of what she did. I tried filling the void with work, with long hikes in the forest, with Ray's quiet companionship, but loneliness crept in like a slow poison. One afternoon, I was sitting by the lake near the ranch, watching the water ripple under the sun, and I caught myself wishing I could turn back time, erase the pain, fix the cracks, but life doesn't work like that. You can't rewind or reset, all you can do is move forward, and that was the hard truth I was learning the slow way. Meanwhile, Lisa's calls became less frequent but more desperate. One night I listened to a voicemail where she said she missed me, missed what we had, that she regretted everything and hoped I'd forgive her. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Her words cut through me like a double-edged knife, but I still didn't answer. I knew that answering would open a door I wasn't ready to walk through. Ray told me once that sometimes silence is the strongest thing you can give someone who's hurting you, and I clung to that idea. I wrote in my journal, trying to make sense of my emotions, scribbling down memories, hopes, and fears, sometimes angry, sometimes nostalgic, sometimes hopeful. It was a messy process, but it was mine. One evening, while walking back from the store, I saw Lisa sitting on a bench near the town square, looking smaller somehow, lost, and a part of me wanted to run to her and scream at her and hug her all at once, but I didn't. I walked past her without a word, and that felt like the hardest choice I ever made. Over the next few months, I found new friends in the town, people who didn't know my past or my pain, people who treated me like someone worth knowing. Slowly, I started opening up, laughing more, feeling more like myself again, but every now and then, a shadow of doubt would cross my mind. Was I running away or finally healing? The line between those two was blurry, and sometimes still is. Lisa sent me a letter that came without warning, full of apologies and memories, telling me she wished we could try again, but I knew it was more about her needing closure than me needing her back. I kept the letter, folded carefully in my drawer, a reminder of a chapter one closed but didn't forget. Life on the ranch taught me a lot about solitude and strength. I learned to enjoy my own company, to find peace in the quiet moments, to let go of the anger that kept me tied to the past. Ray became like family, a steady presence who never judged or rushed me, just listened when I talked, and shared his wisdom when I needed it. It wasn't a perfect life, but it was mine, real and raw. One day, I got a message from Lisa again, saying she was moving to a city hundreds of miles away, looking for a fresh start too. I didn't reply. I wished her well in my heart and hoped she'd find what she was searching for, and as I watched the sun set behind the mountains that evening, I finally felt ready to face whatever came next, not with bitterness or regret, but with hope and quiet strength. After Lisa left that day in the cafe, her eyes full of tears and regret, I thought maybe that was truly the end, but life loves to surprise you. About 6 months later, out of nowhere, I got a message on social media. Lisa had somehow tracked me down again, this time with a plea to meet, saying she'd changed, that she was ready to face the truth and wanted to show me she was serious. My first reaction was anger. Why now? After all the silence, all the pain. But a small part of me was curious. So I agreed to meet at a quiet diner on the edge of town. Sitting across from her, I saw the familiar warmth in her eyes mixed with fear and hope. She told me about the therapy she'd started, the mistakes she was working through, the guilt she carried every day. She said she understood why I walked away, but asked me to consider starting over, to build something new without the shadows of the past. Hearing her, I felt torn, because I still loved the Lisa I knew before all the lies, but the scars were deep, the trust fragile like thin glass. I asked her what would be different this time, what made her believe things could really change, and she spoke honestly about her journey, her struggles, and her commitment to healing. For the first time, I believed her, but I also knew belief wasn't enough. Love takes more than words, it takes time, patience, and proof. I told her I needed space, that maybe down the road we could talk again, but not yet, and she nodded, understanding but disappointed. After that meeting, we kept in touch sporadically, more honest conversations than before, but still, I felt the weight of my own doubts. Could I open my heart again without risking the same pain? It was the hardest question I'd ever faced. During those months, my life kept moving forward. I found work I enjoyed, friends who supported me, and I started dating casually, trying to remind myself that there was life beyond the past. But the ghost of Lisa was always there, whispering memories in quiet moments. Then one day she sent me a plane ticket, asking me to come with her, promising a fresh start somewhere far away, somewhere we could leave the past behind and try again. That offer shook me, because part of me wanted to say yes, to run away with the hope of what could be, but I also knew I had grown too much to go back to what hurt me. I replied gently but firmly that I wasn't ready, that I needed to live my own life on my terms. She accepted it, though her words carried a sadness I couldn't ignore. Eventually, she moved away for good, starting her new life far from the mountains in the town where I'd rebuilt mine. The finality of that goodbye gave me peace I hadn't felt in years. Now, I wake up in a place where my past feels like a distant story, not a chain that holds me down. I've learned that sometimes letting go isn't about giving up, it's about choosing yourself, choosing peace over pain, freedom over fear. I'm grateful for the lessons, the heartbreak, and the growth, because they shaped me into the man I am today. And while I still carry the memories, I don't let them define me anymore. This is my story of betrayal, of quiet strength, and of the hard but necessary journey to find peace and happiness on my own. Living alone in the mountains taught me a lot about who I am and what I want from life. The mornings are calm, the air crisp, and the silence is a balm for my restless mind. I've learned to appreciate solitude, not as loneliness, but as freedom, freedom to think, to dream, to heal without interruption. I spend time working on the ranch with Ray, fixing fences, tending to the animals, and those simple tasks ground me in a way nothing else ever did. Sometimes I catch myself smiling at the small things, a bird singing, the sun filtering through the trees, moments of peace that feel like victories over the chaos I left behind. I also started seeing a counselor, someone who helped me unpack the years of hurt, disappointment, and betrayal. She taught me that forgiveness isn't about excusing bad behavior, but about freeing yourself from the prison of anger. I began to forgive Lisa, not for her, but for me, to stop carrying the weight that held me back. I even opened my heart slowly to the idea of love again, not rushing or forcing, but allowing it to grow naturally. I met people who didn't know my story, who saw me as just Mark, a man learning to live fully, and that was a gift I hadn't expected. Sometimes I wonder about Lisa, what her life looks like now, if she found the happiness she was searching for, and I hope she did, because resentment doesn't belong in my world anymore. My story isn't just about betrayal and loss, it's about survival, growth, and the courage to start over. It's about knowing when to walk away, not because you don't love, but because you love yourself enough to choose a better path. And while scars remain, they remind me that I'm stronger than I ever thought, that peace is possible even after the darkest storms, and that life, no matter how hard, is worth living on your own terms. This is the end of my journey with Lisa, but the beginning of a new chapter for me, a chapter filled with hope, quiet strength, and the freedom to be truly myself. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more crazy twists. See you in the next one.